Okay, today we are going to dismantle a lobster. I grew up in Nova Scotia, Canada, which is part of the Northeast Atlantic lobster belt, where you get the lobsters with the big claws. Most places don't have lobsters with big claws, so these are sought after all over the world. Certain cultures love these things for weddings. They get really big ones and feature it in the middle of the plate so everyone can see the big lobster, although for eating purposes, we like to eat the smaller ones. They're sweeter and the meat is a little less tough. So this is kind of a perfect size lobster, somewhere between 1.5 pounds and 2 pounds, or 500 to 700 grams, ideal weight. And we can get these live and then steamed, or you can ask the grocery store to steam them for you, or cook them yourself. A lot of people like to boil them in salt water. I prefer them steamed. It puts less water into the meat so that when you're taking it apart, you really just get meat and you don't cover your plate with water. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to show you 2 ways to take apart a lobster. So if you go to a restaurant and you really don't know what you're doing, what you'll find is they will give you 2 utensils. Okay, they're going to give you a nutcracker typically, and they're going to give you this little pick device, and that's the restaurant way. I have my way where I prefer to use one instrument, which is just a nice pair of hefty scissors, cooking shears, or chicken scissors also. I'll put links in the description of the video so you can go and get those things. And so let's start with the tail. The tail will be done the same way in either case. The first thing you're going to do is just take the tail and give it a good twist like that. And there is the tail. So now to get the meat out, a lot of people would be tempted to take a fork or to take, this pick or something, but that's not how you do it. What you do is you crush the shell inward on itself like that. Squeeze it in and break all the little segments of shell, and then take the tail like a book and just open it up like this, and that beautiful tail meat will come straight out of there perfectly. Okay, that white congealed matter, we can scrape that off, it doesn't matter, it's all good to eat. And I'll just take the shells, and I like to have a shell bowl so we can put our shells in there. Now, this green stuff, a lot of people don't eat this. This is called tamale. I love it, and a lot of people use this in things like lobster bisque. It's a key ingredient. People will spread it on toast or just eat it. So I'm going to start piling up all of these individual pieces. The other thing that we're going to do, there's some tamale right there. The other thing we're going to do is take out the vein that's in here. So if I open this flap of meat, you will see that there is a vein that runs the length of the tail. This is a good piece of meat right here. But down in here, this segment comes apart, and we can take this vein and strip it right out of there, and that is discarded. We just go all the way back to the end and make sure you got it all, and there you go. There's a perfect piece of tail meat. And we'll put that there. Okay. Now, we're going to move on to the way the restaurant would want to have you do this, okay? They'll have you, I would take these claws off of this side and all the little legs, all right? And the restaurant style would be to take the claw and take the nutcracker and to firmly, but not too strongly, crush the shell so that you can get at it, but you don't want to crush the meat. So just go all the way along the length of the knuckle and the wrist here and the claw, and you can break that. And then this little clawlet comes off like this. And if you're lucky, the meat will come out, and if you're not, like that, you can now either shake that out, and there we go, and that just shook right out. So I didn't need to use the tool. A lot of people would be tempted to use this tool, and that might have been just fine as well. I tend to not use this at all, but so that's empty now. There's no meat in there. And then this piece of the claw, we can break this off and then get that claw meat out. Now there's a piece of cartilage in here that you want to avoid. So I'll push that meat out with my little finger, and you feel in here for the cartilage. Now we were lucky in this case because the cartilage stayed with the shell. So I'm going to put that over there, checking this for any residual meat, and there isn't any. So let's take that shell and throw it out. Okay, now we've got this piece. This is where, again, because we used the nutcrackers, I'm going to have to sort of break this apart with my hands and use the little pick tool to start picking out some of that meat. You can see it pushes out, it'll push through, and you can push it through both ways, both sides, and just gather that all up. Or you could just be eating it. I don't want to have you guys endure watching me eat. So I'm just going to pile this up. Now, when you do make it like this and just pile up the meat, you can also, be preparing yourself to be making other things like a lobster sandwich or something like a lobster casserole or some other sort of dish. Anyway, we open up each segment, taking out the meat bit by bit. Okay, so that is empty now, and that's the restaurant method. That's empty as well. Okay, moving to my method, I'm going to take off this. This is called the pincher claw. This one's called the crushing claw. And a lot of what lobsters eat are shellfish. So they will actually crush shellfish open with this claw and then pick it apart with the other claw, which is sharper. So that's why they're different. So we just rip this piece off. Now, like I said, I've got my method. So I'm going to twist off first the big claw. We're going to take off the little clawlet, and this again should shake out. And if it doesn't, then I'm going to use my little pick device. There we go. So there's a nice little piece of claw meat. Okay, so that's an empty shell. Now for this side, this is where I'm going to use my nice heavy shears. So simply do a cut right across to where the little clawlet was, and open that up, and then out comes that beautiful piece of meat. That's great, nice big heavy crusher claw meat. In here we want to check this for any cartilage. Again, we didn't get any, we avoided it, must have been left back in the shell. And checking for any residual meat, you want to gather all that up. And now for this piece, you recall I wrestled quite a bit with it with the nutcrackers, but with scissors, I can just cut the length of the thing, and I can go down both sides of it. Be careful with your fingers. I'm going to go from this way. And if you go the length of the whole claw, you can just pull the shell apart and get at all of the meat inside very easily with just the one tool. Okay, so look at all that great meat that you can get out of there. And there's nothing left here. Check this side, some meat over here. So we've got that out. Again, more shells. Now, all these little legs, I eat those too. And the way you do that is you put this in your mouth starting out about here into one of your pair of your molars. And you imagine your molars crunching down and squeezing this out. As you squeeze along with your molar, the meat will come out of the end of that. And you can just go through, they're kind of fun to eat. You can just eat all of those. And when they're flattened out and finished, you can just throw that part away. So I'll save those for later over on my plate. Now, this is the part where a lot of people give up, and many people won't even touch the body, or they think it's not safe to eat. There are some warnings about the tamale having you know, large amounts of tamale may have some toxins because these are bottom feeders. There are recommendations by various health groups and government organizations that might say that you can eat, you know, a lobster worth a day. This would be for people consuming a lot of lobster. So you might want to check on that. I don't worry about it. I just eat it, and I don't eat a lot of lobster, so it's usually a special event for me. And now, to open this up, we're just going to pull apart the top from the bottom. And this part contains quite a bit of tamale, okay? There's also a piece up in the top here, which we've always been guided not to eat it. First of all, it's hard like a beak of a bird up underneath here. And when I was a kid, they called that the old lady. I don't know why. But we take this and just shake it, and anything that will come out of there, anything you can shake out is the tamale that you can eat. So I'll just take that and pile that up over here. If you find some red material in here, this is roe from a female lobster, and it's delicious too. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have any. More of that tamale. Anything that you can easily take out is fine. And then there's some meat right here that you want to take out too. That is a piece of meat right there. So we'll put that in our meat pile. Now this piece is the firm part. That's the piece that they really guide you not to eat. And we're not going to eat that. So this now we can throw over here. Now, bottom part, also you might think, maybe I'll discard that. But no, it's full of meat too. What you don't want to eat are these gills on the side. They are not good to eat. They don't taste good. There's nothing wrong with eating them, but they just don't have any real value in terms of being edible, and not a pleasurable texture either. Now, when you open this piece up, there's all kinds of meat in here. And you can basically just push with your fingers. You can push each segment above each of the legs has some meat that comes out. So that is really tasty meat in there too. And what you do is you just pick away at that, and you can build a little pile of that, or you could just eat it as you take it out. And by the end of that process, what you want to have is a completely meatless piece of shell. So you can spend quite a bit of time picking out the little bits of meat from here, and then make sure you get it all, because it is good stuff. But that, in the end, is how I eat a lobster. Hopefully this video helped you, and you'll give it a like, and also please do subscribe to my channel. Every subscriber helps a lot. Thanks.